welcome back to Glorious Botafogo, your number one source of Botafogo news in English. Welcome back to the GB podcast. I'm your host, Woods. I'm here with the main host of the channel, my co-host, Pedro. How you doing today, mate?
Could have been doing better. But
yeah, I expected to jump on this microphone, all smug as fuck, big smile on my face. But yeah, following that Cruzeiro result, I expected to be sitting here swigging the J2Os. Big up the British audience. We love this shit when you're at the pub and you don't want alcoholic beverages, man. We love this shit.
there you go. Yeah, I was just gotten so used to beating Fluminense. It was for a while there we had eight in a row on them. So just beating Fluminense, playing Fluminense was just basically synonym for 3 points. But as of lately, I think the last couple matches, we might have gotten a loss to them. I need to double check that, but I feel like the last two matches, I think we lost two in a row now. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, last game 2-0 under Davide. Whilst you check, I will just take the time now just to say thank you everyone for the response on the first podcast. We just sort of winged it, just freestyled it, see how it went, and the response was very good. So thank you everyone who tuned in, listened. Inspired us to do another. This one will be a bit more structured, a bit, but however, this one is a bit more off the cut considering we're obviously the podcast may go up the day after or the day after tomorrow, but we are recording literally right after the Fluminense game, so it's just right off the cut with a bit less jotted down talking points, but there's plenty that we can go through regarding the Cruzeiro game, tonight's match, and the shit that's happened behind the scenes, because my word, 3 or 4 days at this club without speaking about it, and you've got a whole playbook of everything you can talk about. It is ridiculous. But yeah, so first of all, thank you all. It's very appreciated. I'm going to try and slow my voice down because when I listen back to the last podcast, I always forget that I'm naturally a very fast speaker. But because we were sort of doing it off the cuff, I thought I'll just talk as normal, see how it goes. But yeah, thank you very much. I believe Pedro has put out some clips today as well, so expect more content coming your way regarding that. And then you should have his normal post-match video as normal. But yeah, I mean, talk me through the game in terms of how you analysed that today, mate. Because, do you know what? You gave a quick debrief. I was thinking maybe we shouldn't look into it too much because ultimately it was basically our second team up against their first team. I don't like them at all, but Fluminense, they've got a good manager. They've got a good squad. Let's just be honest. Maybe we shouldn't look too deep into it, lack of match sharpness and whatnot. How would you dissect the game, mate, tactically?
Well, they, they brought some players in. They did well in the Club World Cup. They got a lot of money from that, and they're investing the money, and they're investing the money into the squad, and they're getting decent players. Lucho's a decent player. Kennedy's a decent player. They got Savarino, which is, the 2024 prime Savarino is not the same one that Fluminense has, but, he could help. I think against Botafogo today, he didn't play very much, but what he played, he didn't look good. He tried to take a couple of shots and it just kind of went, far. And then the corner kick that he took was also pretty terrible. I just, maybe in the back of my head, I'm thinking he tried to sabotage Fluminense, but I know that's not what happened. It's just Savarino not doing as well as he was, because But anyways, I thought if it wasn't for Leo Link, the match could have ended 2-3-0 for Fluminense. I didn't feel like we were very dangerous up front. I didn't feel like we were creative. I felt like we played a very, like a very, I don't want to say hesitant game, but obviously we didn't have the showing that we had against Cruzeiro. Like you said, we did have mostly reserves and substitutes in this match. It was nice to see Bastos back to get some of that playing rhythm, and he hasn't played in a while, so this is the first time that he has started, so it's good for him. It was good to get Masao some playing time. It was good to get Kadu, the right back from the younger right back that came from our academy. He got some playing time. He did fine. Mateus Fernandes and those guys, they need to get Kajir, like he needs that time to play. So this was a Carioca, right? So I'm not too worried about the result. It's always nice to have the bragging rights versus Fluminense for winning the match. It's always good to have the bragging rights. But for what it was, a loss is never fine. I always want to see us play, but I think it was an important match to get those that are not considered quote unquote your starters, to give them minutes, because we have a very short squad. It's not like when Davide was here, he had a lot of players to work with. Anselmi doesn't. The players that you saw today, and then our starting 11 and 3 or 4 U20, U23 players, that's our squad. So these guys need to get playing minutes, and that's what I saw this being. A managing of time, managing of fitness and fatigue and all that. I saw that was the purpose of today's match, because we already qualified anyways for the semifinals of the Carioca. So I lost versus Fluminense, whatever. It's not really. It wouldn't have annoyed me or hurt me as much as it was if we had done that in the Brasileirão, which in 3 matches from to this one, we're going to play them again. So it's going to be a very quick turnaround. We're going to play Grêmio, we're going to play Vasco, and then Fluminense again. So that's the one that's really going to count. So we better be ready for that one.
Well, that might prep us quite well then, because the first thing I noticed in the second half was, tactically, Anselmi just sort of got his pants pulled down a little bit. Now, obviously, he's got his second team out, but obviously, like Chichi, who has this cowardly way of attacking. It was the same thing as we saw at Brazil and Flamengo a few years back. He's just passing across the lines. And honestly, apart from the little flick they had from Ayoho in the second half and that shot by Jason, we could have played like that for another 10 hours and he wouldn't have scored. Whereas with Fluminense, when they get the ball, it's forward, it's direct. It's exactly what I saw in the Club World Cup. We know Renato Gaucho's style of play. Like, we know exactly how it is. And he was playing more diagonal patterns across that 3 at the back system we play. And it was working. Now look, Bastos, it's his first game back since a millennia, and you can tell he didn't look it. It was going to take him some time. Kadu and Kadir, they didn't look diabolical or anything, but you can tell that this is clearly, they're playing at a level above, and you could tell basically. But there were two good players I like the look of technically when I looked Copinha alongside a few other players like Gal Valle and whatnot. I did want to touch on Savarino as well. Now you mentioned him, when he came onto the pitch, I did hear a fair few applauds from the home crowd, along with a few boos, and I'm like, why? Why? What do you want him to do? Do you want him to buy fucking the Botafogo SAF? He said no to him once. He said no to him twice. They made him train alone, and he said, all right, then I'll go. He doesn't want to be there. He does not want to be there. That's like, what are we doing here? Let's just be completely honest. I mean, yeah, and then behind the scenes, we can get onto that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, though, Pedro? Because I thought that was a bit just bizarre, to be honest. Like, why?
The applauses for Savarino and the boos.
No, the boos, yeah. That's just what. Why?
Fans are gonna be fans. They're gonna react how they're going to react and how they want to react. Everyone's different. If they want to boo, they can boo. If they want to applaud, they can applaud. I personally wouldn't have booed, but I don't think I would have applauded either. I mean, he's with the other team now. As much as I like him, you can applaud him when he retires, and he shows up to a 10-year anniversary of the Libertadores 2024 party. You can applaud him then. But I wouldn't have booed him. But again, you can't control fans. They're gonna react how they want to react.
I mean, this might just be the narrow, like the short-sighted gringo view, because obviously in English football, it's very if you have a player of that stature who's gone out with that much respect, it's not really traditional to do that. But I know it's not the same values, to say the very least. I mean, in terms of the squad we put out, I mean, yeah. So you can kind of do you know what? Anselmi, based off the first game against Cruzeiro, though, which I'm sure we will dissect in great detail. Because the thing is about that game, when we brought on some players, when we look, let's cut the shit. It was a stonewall penalty on Montoro from Guilherme Arana. Like when you come on, like when he got his shirt pulled, it's ridiculous. I don't know how that wasn't given, but like I said, Leo Linky was phenomenal. He definitely kept the score down. Fluminense should have had another 1 or 2 goals. So let's not sugarcoat it. They were the better team. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They were the better team. But it shows that when the hope is that when we brought our main player, when we brought on Santi Rodriguez, when we brought on Danilo, especially Montoro, we started to compete. I just think it's about.
And I think the system of Anselmi with the substitutes, especially on defense, having to do that in the match during the game, you're gonna find some weaknesses, and we got that. I mean, there's, in my opinion, a lot of positional mistakes from our defenders, and I think that's where the Fluminense goal came out. I think it was just the positioning mistake from players that are doing it for the first time. They're playing their first 90 minutes under that new system, and we just got caught. And like I said, they were the better team. They found the spaces and put the ball in the back of the net, and that's really all that counts.
Yeah, well, I thought Marshall was okay, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Nathan Fernandes, not his natural position, playing as a wing back. Same with Kadu, he's just leagues away from this level. Barreira, as good as a player he looks, he's not in that sitting midfielder role, or you could say that progressive midfielder role like Danilo was playing against Cruzeiro. Doesn't suit that role. He needs to be higher up the pitch, and that's where, as you mentioned, one of the first things in your analysis, Pedro, like the squad depth, his hands are tied. His hands are tied behind his back. So we need to really get this sorted. Do you know what? Let's just go through this, because let's address the elephant in the room. The interview that John Textor addressed to the fans on Botafogo TV. I mean, I'm sure every Botafogo fan on the planet has mixed opinions, the congesting opinions about this, and they all want to get the 2 cents in and tell John, listen, mate, sort it out. None more than I'm sure yourself, Pedro. I'm sure you've got many inside sources and whatnot. Just lay out the facts, what's happened. I'm sure you're going to go over a debrief in your video, but what's happened, what's he said? He was basically talking about how he's still in charge of the whole Eagle Football Club, the social club, but go and take it away, mate. It's so much corporate stuff, man.
Man, as far as I'm concerned, the facts are he's not really putting his mouth where the money is, and the money's nowhere to be seen. So that tells you that much. And that's really what comes down to it. He said many times already. It's been going on for like 3-4 weeks now about the money showing up, but the money hasn't shown up. They went to São Paulo yesterday. John Textor and the president of the social club, JP Magalhães, they went to São Paulo to do the audit of the finances that Textor brought to the table. Textor said, this is, here's the plan, here's the money. And so they took that to São Paulo to see if there is money there, if it's actually true. And if it isn't, then John Textor is in trouble. Let me tell you that. I think if that audit comes back and the news are not good, I think there's a very good chance that we could see John Textor losing the club. A very good chance.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the fan base online was screaming for our Textor out. I won't stop people from saying that, because people are well within the right to say that. I wasn't shouting that as of yet, because I think he deserves a chance with basically the whole Eagle football and the Aries controversy that's happened outside of Brazil. We know the problem. The point is, it's now ruptured inside to Botafogo SAF. So I thought I'd give him the chance to explain himself a little bit. Maybe a bit naive on my part because he's done that numerous times, and we've not seen any backbone. We've not seen any. We've not seen anything to back it up, any diplomacy at all.
Things
Really.
don't look good. Things don't look good for Molenbeek either. They don't look good either. So
No, the whole identity change and everything. Like the guy's biting his nose off despite his face. Even though I'm not going to throw these terms like, yeah, that Texas should walk. I am at breaking point. It's like, look, it's all good coming out and saying you're going to make the personal investment to clear the Almada fund. That was the other day. Like, what's happening? What is happening, my mate? Come on now. Like, it's that point where you can't. You have to take everything he says with a pinch of salt. Everything. Like it's always not as straightforward as this was the plan and then something happened with the social club. And listen, mate, we need to progress as a team. And in a way, today's result might be a good thing to show him that, because in terms of having to play our young players from the copy and you're having to play Barella in his unnatural position, and Selmy needs players. He needs a squad to compete. It's as simple as that, my mate. Like, come on now.
The thing is, like, we get the players that are in limbo. If we get them, and we get them on the squad, I mean, even if it's only 2 or 3 players, they will make a difference. So those players will be a key part on how our season is gonna go. Because if you have a player like Medina, my goodness, it's so much better than the alternative that's going to be there. There's this new center back from Racing in Argentina that we're looking to sign. If he comes, then he is most likely going to slot right into that starting center back position instead of Newton playing the center back. And then guess what? Newton's probably going to go back to his position of origin, which is center defensive mid, center mid, and he's probably going to be the immediate substitute to Medina and Alan. So there we add another slot, another player that we can use, and then all of a sudden Anselmi starts to gain all of these pieces that he can use. But until that transfer ban doesn't go away, none of that matters. It doesn't matter how many players we sign because we can't use them. So
it's a dream for me that you've brought up that point of that central centre-back role in Anselmi's system, because it is pivotal as we've seen it. And Newton has been... I need to give Newton some flowers here as well, because he has adapted to that role phenomenally, really. Because as we know, as we saw in the first 2 karaoke games, and what he done to a T against Cruzeiro is you got to slot in and you got to cover the back line now, because he's not an experienced centre-back as well. So you would have saw this. There was a phase in play against Cruzeiro where Jason's chipped a ball over to, I believe it was Matheus Pereira, and Barbosa's had to come across and make the tackle, and he's shouting at his fellow defenders, especially Newton, like, come across, squeeze across, because he just doesn't have the experience to know when to shift across in pivotal moments in the defensive phase. But what I will say, he held himself very well. The last foot tackles from himself and Danilo that game was brilliant. And that ball he played to Nato Fernandez off the bench, who offered the cross into Danilo for the third goal. Yeah, the third goal, I believe. The way he slotted into that role was perfect. So not only do we need more base players, we know what we need. Like base players, we need another midfielder, we need another left back. But now with Anselmi's system, which no one's going to question after that Cruzeiro game, and the promise it shows, the energy and intensity it gives us, right? He needs another essential defender who can do that.
And contrast, Matteo Ponchi hasn't really done that great in this system. I feel like in the position, because Anselmi was trying to play him as the other center back on the right, and to me, he wasn't really performing well in that position. So I feel like having Matteo Ponchi as the right center back is a liability. So again, we need a depth. We need the players to put on that spot, because we just can't rely on those type of players. Not that Ponchi is a bad player. He's a good player. Today.
I thought he was decent against Cruzeiro though, Pedro. Do you not think he played well against Cruzeiro? I thought he had a decent game.
Yeah, he made some mistakes that we got lucky that they couldn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Turn around and convert. This is the thing. this Anselmi formation is very good to suffocate your enemy on their side and to keep the ball there and to call off the offsides, play the offside trap. But they get behind you. If they don't have the quality to finish, then you're saved. But if they do, then you're screwed. They could easily in the Brasileirão. Some of these teams are not gonna miss the chances. And today, Fluminense, that their firepower is not as good or strong as a Flamengo or Palmeiras. They're not going to miss the chances that Fluminense missed today. So, we can either win 3-1, 4-0, or whatever. We can lose 1-4, 0-4. So again, we need the depth. We need the players to help. If with this transfer ban, you can just forget it.
Do you know where I think the struggle came from? You got to change the field tilt in terms of the personnel use. So let me just explain what that means. Now look, the pressing game we played was very systematic, and more importantly, how we played on the ball. So because we played 3 at the back, obviously the focus is on wide play, utilising wing backs. That's how nearly every 3 at the back system works. And in order by doing that, it's very so when we press on the left, for example, we press with Alain on that side as well, and then Newton tucks into midfield and he offers that support role press. So, and obviously if we're pressing on the left side, left wing back Alex Telles and so on, which means we don't do quite the same thing on the right side because Danilo's a little bit more of a different player. However, on the left side, basically what I'm trying to implicate is that you've noticed it a lot of times, Barbosa, Anselmi was putting a lot of trust on Barbosa in that defensive role. It's very similar to the role Bastoni plays at Inter Milan, the defensive phase. Obviously on the ball, he doesn't put in swinging crosses and do underlapping runs like Bastoni. And I'm not for 1 second comparing Barbosa to fucking Bastoni, because I know what people who listen to podcasts like. Let me just clear that up right now. But in terms of the space he covers, like that, that area, like he's got a lot of space to. He's almost trying to nullify 2 plays in the same phase, if that makes sense. And we put Martial on that side, and then we don't have another defender who can come in. A lot of Fluminense's attacks, not all, but they were going from left to right. They were doing that diagonal, that vertical play stuff. And then the defender on the receiving end of that, a lot of the time, was Matteo Ponchi. That's why it looked like he might have struggled a lot more today as I've compared to last game against Cruzeiro, because when we was pressing on that side, he had more support, whereas this side he was trusted more just to sort of defend and by his own means. That's sort of not his natural game. He suffered a lot to do. Like, I might say a punch, let's not get away with it. He was poor to do. But I don't want to put all the blame particularly or Anselmi either, because like I said, his hands have been tied behind his back, Anselmi, in terms of his personnel, because he really is putting a lot of trust in these players to carry out this intensive style of play. And some players just aren't suited to, in different games at least, they're not suited to have that makeshift in transition. Is there any other? You've been having a look at this Medina guy. He's a midfield player, sitting midfield player, I believe.
Yes.
Do you think he would? Because Alan's been playing fantastic. We are looking at this other defender from Argentina. Do you believe he would slot right into the team, or do you think he would be an option to go into that centre back role? Because I know you've seen a fair amount of him play.
I don't know about center back, but I think he would. It would just give another quality option to Anselmi. I think he is good enough to just slot into the starting 11. Whether he goes in for Alan or he's not going to go in for Danilo. So I don't know where he would go in, but I know he's good enough to go in that starting 11. He's like your classic box to box center defensive mid that can play. He's like Danilo 2.0. Like him and Danilo are very good.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Anselmi uses, is like 2 box to box center mids. So, it would be fantastic if we had somebody that can do that. And to be fair, Alan's been doing great. If Alan can keep playing like that, Anselmi's going to have a good headache.
Yeah, I thought Alan was decent today as well. I thought the players you could pick out today, and if you could say, honestly had a decent game, Alan, Marshall, and Leo Linky man of the match by far. The rest looked either
Okay.
out of place or just gone. But yeah, like the reason I asked is because if he could slot into that role the same way Newton does, where with his presence and his calmness on the ball, then you could put a defender like Bastos on the right centre back role, and in case you wanted to rotate. And if Bastos has to cover that much space, I know he's getting a bit old, but he's got a more than enough presence about him to hold his own if needs be. So it's not that much. You know, we don't have to go through that stress again of seeing Matej Punchy get doubled up on by two tricky wingers with the ball at the feet like Canobio, and it's just not a good look, man. And then then on top of that you got Lee Martinelli making underlapping runs from midfield. It's just not. Come on, man. We don't want to go through that stress again. And then he can play on his more natural. He's got like a more natural if he wants to slot in that right wing back for
I think he
Vitinho.
would do that great. He would play that right wing back really well, I believe.
He does, yeah, because he's got a ball in him. He's got a good shot on him as well. If you remember some of the goals he's got, Matej Punchy, Hakantino and whatnot. And
Yeah,
yeah,
great.
for sure. But yeah, do you know what? Let's talk about the Cruzeiro game with a little bit more detail because I know I touched into it then in terms of our defensive phase, but from man to man, this is where I expected to come on with my smug little face, talk about two excellent performances, yeah. But we can only talk about the Cruzeiro game in that context. But two on man, we were fantastic. Not a single. If I remember correct, not really a single weakness in that. The one thing I will say is that I wanted to see a bit more from Santi Rodriguez. Maybe that's me nitpicking just a little bit. But other than that, two a man, phenomenal. Artur Cabral as well. I've got to give him some praise because I was very critical of him on the last podcast. And Selmy now, so he wasn't. If you notice in that game, he wasn't playing off the shoulder and just winning headers all the time like he was in the first two karaoke games. He was dropping back and linking play and being a bit of a ragdoll in there. So it's clear Anselmi's told him, look, almost the way Igor Jesus looked to play that energetic target man. He said, look, we needed to adapt to this role today. Can you hold the ball up? Can Montoro and Santi Rodriguez, Artur, Mateus Martins, when he comes off the bench, make those inside runs off you? And he was brilliant at that. The amount of times he had two or three Cruzeiro players round him and he just shrugged the challenge off. The assist for the first Danilo goal, the drag back and then the nutmeg, phenomenal Artur. Jogador, man. Do it every week now is what I say. Do it every week.
That's the that's what we all want. That's what we want, you know. I don't want him to do bad. He's currently playing for us. I want him to do good. So if he can, if he can do that every match, then awesome. It was very smart, you know, hold up the play, fight the defender off, be the target man, hold the ball, find the right moment to send the pass through, and he sent a great pass. Yeah, he did everything right.
Yeah, I mean, that was my pick of the bunch, personally. But let's get to the man of the match, Danilo. What a game he had. The assist, Mateus Martins coming out of hibernation, the goals, the way he took both goals, and the fact that we were rumoured to, strongly rumoured, probably concrete rumoured to sell him and Montoro to Nottingham Forest $35 million. Are you crazy? Are you crazy, Texter? Come on, man.
I think Montoro has the possibility of just Montoro alone being sold for like 30. Just Montoro alone. So what are you talking about? 35 for both? You're insane. And then not only that, we owe Nottingham Forest, so then we would only get like 4 or 8 million euros back from the whole sale. That doesn't take care of the year. That doesn't take care of the cash flow problems. So why the hell would you sell the best two players on the team? And they made their case as to why, you know, they need to stay because they completely changed the match. There's, to me, Montoro and Danilo cannot leave before the end of the season. I'm not even talking about in the middle. I know Danilo already kind of gave a hint. He just says, you know, looking to stay until at least the World Cup. So in the middle of the year, we can see, or at least expect, Danilo to leave. I don't want him to. He shouldn't. I think he should stay until the end of the season. And this is the problem. Sometimes I wish the Brazilian calendar would fall in line with the rest of the world, and just let's copy the season, how the season goes. I know it's hard. It would take some massive adjustments, but I know the rest of the world's not going to change for us. I just wish we would stop losing players in the middle of the season. It just that's just so bad for us. And if we lose Danilo in the middle of the season, especially if we don't have Medina, it's gonna be tough. He showed exactly why he did so well, man. Like that header. Oh my gosh, that was a crazy good header, and him and Montoro together, they will also work really well. So they cannot go, man. They cannot go. Botafogo fans will. That might be what does it for John Texter as far as like completely losing the supporters, is if he does that.
I mean, he knew he was under a lot of scrutiny from that. That's why he went onto Botafogo TV. And he was talking. He was just shutting down the rumours, saying, "Oh, the offers were coming in and whatnot." But we was trying to negotiate. And then I was just listening to that, thinking, "All right, mate."
The information that I have is not that. He was like advancing.
He's bullshitting, Pedro. Let's cut the shit
to finalize. Yeah, to finalize the sale, and do what a lot of teams have done. He even mentioned it in his interview, like Stevon and Endrick, to where they were sold and then they wait a certain period of time and then complete the transfer, at least on paper. So I think that's what he was going to do. He was going to sell those players and keep them here until the World Cup, and then at the World Cup they would go. That's what I think. But he kind of had to track back and cover himself and really think about what he was going to say. But yeah, that's not the information that I had behind the scenes. That the sale was going to happen, and if it wasn't for the social club putting a halt to it, they would have been sold that day.
I mean, yeah. So, the whole mantra is, I know it can happen, but the media manipulating stories and whatnot, which sounds good on paper. It's a nice little buzz sentence just to say, oh, yeah, the media's feeding his lies. But when you've got the social club and when you've got the club CEO coming out with contradictory statements, it's not a good look, John. Look, get your shit together, man. But I mean, focusing back onto the Cruzeiro game, I mean, you might have seen the video I posted after. That's because I had some Cruzeiro fan who was giving me absolute lip during the game, man. After Kiao Georgie missed a couple chances, because I said, in the first 20 minutes we were the better team. And we were. And then in the last 20 minutes of the second half, they took control of the game. And, I think he felt like he could have done that just purely because of our record against them. And I was like, fuck's sake, like, this guy's going to talk like this, and I've just got to sit here and just watch Cal Georgia and probably Jason score as well, just to rub it in. But no, we didn't allow a second half to happen. Martin Anselmi, the passion, the enthusiasm on the touchline, that tactical change, by the way. Because in the second half, when they pulled out after the first goal, between, I think, 10 or 15 minutes, we were under some serious pressure. Like I said, no underlying threat, because, like I said, the way Tite coaches his play is almost cowardly. It's almost like don't play inside passes into the box. But
it's very safe, very low risk. I mean, that's why the national team had a great record. Okay, they didn't lose a lot because Chichi didn't take a lot of risks. And all of the Brazil wins with him were very narrow. 1-0, 2-0. There's the outliers.
The amount of posts I've seen. That says, would you take Chichi back to Brazil? That's the name of the game.
And he almost ended up here, which was scary. That would have been no good. Right. Yeah, he almost ended up here last season, and that would have been really scary. Because I have friends that were like, they're all about Chichi ball. Like, they're ready for it. And I'm like, please, God, no. Yeah, no. It would have been even worse than Davide Ancelotti, I would have to say. And not that to say that Davide was awful, but Chichi just, that's not the style of, that's not in Botafogo's DNA, man. Botafogo's DNA always was a credit to Texter, is what Texter's trying to develop, is just demoralize and attack and score and score and score and suffocate you. We're talking like, historically speaking, from the glory days, that's what we were known for. So in one way he's doing good by trying to bring that back, but that wasn't going to happen with Chichi. So yeah, no way.
The Botafogo away with Chichi, there's just things that are incompatible, mate. Let's be honest here.
That doesn't go in
And
the same sentence.
no, exactly, exactly. But yeah, like I said about the substitution he made, when we were under a bit of pressure, and then when he took our door off, and then he went for no strikers on the pitch, but he put 4 attackers on, and then he switched to 4 at the back. And in order to transition, he utilised pace on the wings. So Arturo coming on with fresh legs, Mateus Martins. That's exactly how we got the first goal. Mateus Martins, pretty much all of Cruzeiro's players suffocating our box. Danilo with a bit of space, spins off the turn, wallops the pass forward, Mateus Martin off the shoulder. What a ball, by the way. He is phenomenal, Danilo, man. I said years ago when he was at Palmeiras, get him in the national team. I said it when he was at Forest, and I'll say it now. Get him in the Seleção. He's got to be there, man. His qualities, his versatility, he's unreal. It's unbelievable.
Case for it. He's got a case for it. And at that game versus Cruzeiro, Ancelotti was there. So he picked a great game to be man of the match. Because I know Ancelotti was there also to watch Caio Jorge. He was also there to watch Gerson. He was also there to watch Vitinho. There were probably 6 to 8 players just in the Botafogo and Cruzeiro match alone that Ancelotti was looking at for the national team. I know that for a fact. So at least 6 to 8 players on that pitch that he was looking at. So it's good, man. I'm very happy for Danilo for that. And also, if he gets a World Cup call-up, my goodness, his price skyrockets, which is why selling him now is a terrible idea. Because if he makes into the Seleção, the 20-something million euros that we spent for him, we're going to double that money.
Yeah, what if he goes to the World Cup and has a standout tournament? What if he's like one of the standout players in the tournament, whether Brazil win the tournament or not?
And how how insane the price tags are on some of these players nowadays. You have completely normal players that 15, 20 years ago they would have gone for 10, 15 million euros. Now they're going for like 60, 70, 80. It's completely insane. Not to use another word here. It's just fucking absurd the amount of money that some of these players are going
for some of these European clubs, man. Like, if he has a tournament
absurd,
like that, it's going to go into a bidding war and the price is going to go up. So 35 million to Nottingham Forest. Pissed off for that,
I'm looking at some of these Premier League teams spending 40, 50, 60 million euros on just slightly above average players. It's taking this market to places that it's crazy. I mean, Flamengo just spent 40 million euros on Paquetá. 42 million euros on Paquetá. I mean, is he a good player? Yeah, he's a good player. But this is the level that a Brazilian team has achieved, to spend 40 million euros, not reais, euros, to bring a player. It has now, that level of insanity has reached the Brasileirão. If that becomes the norm, then my goodness, these teams coming up from the Serie B, what chance do they have?
Scary times. I mean, to be honest, that is we've not seen it before in terms of the competitive nature in the league from second division teams that come up.
Yeah, that's another podcast entirely, but it's scary. And to be fair, we're right there in the top of that food chain. It's Palmeiras, Flamengo, and us that have spent the most amount of money on players. Us on Danilo, us on Thiago Almada, us on Luis Henrique, and then Palmeiras the same thing, and Flamengo the same thing. We're contributing to that. So I can't really just stand here and complain too much about it, but I feel like that's more of a symptom of an already insane market that's been getting worse and worse over the years with more money, especially with the Saudi money coming in. It's getting crazy.
Well, what I will say, if we're supposed to be one of those top Brazilian clubs economically, then act like it, Texter. For God's sake, act like it. Like, why are we sitting there scratching our head waiting for deals to pass and corporate business structure to get settled just so we can get players in and provide this manager that you're so sold on, I'm so sold on after that game. Leaving him having to play Copinha players in the game against Fluminense against their full strength side. Like, come on,
Yeah, soon
like, we
enough,
should be there.
soon
This is
enough Brazilian
Botafogo.
teams, soon enough Brazilian teams are going to be spending 20 million euros just to sign kids to play the Copinha, man. It's going to be insane.
Well, I've not got that insane yet, but I'll tell you what, with the way the world's going, let's not count that out.
The
But
way
like
that
I
it's
said, different
going,
podcast, man. Different
yeah.
podcast, man. Shout out to Smoking Snake. Different podcast.
Yeah, shout out to the boys right there on Smoking Steak, man. To them, and then also to Nathan Joyce. He does a fantastic job to covering Brazilian football, South American football in general. But Nathan, he does such a great job. He's a Nottingham's supporter. Mr. Nate, he knows he likes the Reds over there. But he the Copa Club. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, the Copa Club. Yeah, great podcast, great magazine of South American football. So him and the boys from the Smoking Snake, they do a wonderful job too on spreading the gospel of Brazilian football throughout the world.
Yeah, shout out them, man. I mean, moving swift.
Perhaps we need to schedule a little 4-way podcast with the Smoking Snake boys.
I was thinking the same thing, to be honest, when they retweeted the first episode. Once again, thank you very much to everyone for the
They're in
support.
Brazil
Everyone.
right now. They're in Brazil right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they actually went to Botafogo and Cruzeiro, both of them.
Oh, I've not seen.
Yeah, they were there. They were there. They said it was awesome. That the atmosphere at the Newton Santos was amazing. Everybody high-fiving each other. Obviously, it was a great win. But yeah, they said they had a great time at the Newton Santos, and they watched São Paulo and Flamengo. They got to see Flamengo lose to São Paulo, so that was also great. And I think today they watched. They went to see some match today. No, they didn't go see Corinthians and Flamengo. They went to see something else. I think they were in Minas. They might have seen Atlético Mineiro play today.
Oh, right.
If I'm not mistaken, who do they play today? I don't even know who they played. America? No, I don't even know. Anyways, but I know they're still in Brazil. They're coming back. One of them's coming back today, and then the other one's coming back in a few days. But yeah, once they get back and they get settled in, we'll schedule something with them.
Do you know what? Hit him up, Pedro, and we'll give an update on that. I will touch on that, though. Palmeiras dropping points. Flamengo losing to Sao Paulo.
Flamengo losing the Super Cup today.
Coming short on the Super Cup, exactly, man. And to be honest, mate, rightfully so. I watched the game. Corinthians was the better team. Exploiting gaps. Not the same. Mm-hmm. I know Flamengo have just recently come back with their first team. So maybe you can just put it down to lack of match sharpness. Or are they generally just being found out? Because it's very hard to replicate. We've seen it for ourselves. We've literally seen it for ourselves. Yeah. It's very hard, very difficult to replicate a season like that, where you practically win everything.
Our allies in São Paulo, Corinthians. It's funny the relationship that Botafogo has with São Paulo teams.
Always had a soft spot for Corinthians, man. Always had a little soft spot for them, man. Thanks for doing Vasco in the Copa do Brasil as well.
Yeah, as of late, Palmeiras has become the bigger rivalry between the clubs. Santos has always been sort of a mutual respect thing due to Garrincha and Pelé. Sao Paulo has always kind of been like a limbo. Like we kind of had like a rivalry at times with them here and there. It's definitely not a friendly when that match happens. But against Corinthians, it's one of those that, when Botafogo supporters are in São Paulo to go watch a Corinthians match, it's a very relaxed, laid back vibe. The Gaviões and the Fúria from Botafogo, they're like brother, cousins, whatever you want to call it, organizations. So you can see around the stadium, around the vicinity of the neighborhood, Corinthians and Botafogo fans walking together, drinking beers, eating food together. And then when they go to the Newton Santos, it's the same thing. Corinthians supporters can walk without having, without getting worried about getting their ass kicked. Because when it's against Flamengo, they'll get into fist fights or worse. So, with Botafogo, the way that we treat them here is the way that they treat us there, and vice versa. It's always been a very friendly thing for sure.
Corinthians and Flamengo, I believe, the two most supported teams in the country, no?
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's why they have that rivalry. Yeah.
It's always fireworks, isn't it?
Because of that. Yeah. I mean, it was cool. It's good to see them lose and Corinthians take one, and we can at least laugh at them.
100%. No, fair. Shout out Dorival. Yeah. So I mean, that's today's covered game against Fluminense. In terms of next game, Grêmio, obviously down at Rio Grande. How do you think that one's going to go, man? Oh yeah, their manager Luis Castro as well. The big return. I just wish the reception was coming back to Neil Don Santos. That would have been absolute fireworks. But
next
chance.
leg, the next second leg,
if he's not sacked by then.
Yeah, if he's not sacked by then, yeah. Second leg of the Brasileirão, maybe we'll see them there. I'm sure the Botafogo supporters are going to go over there and make some noise. People. Yes, I do think that we lost that 2022-23 title because Castro left 100%. If Castro would have stayed until the end, we would have been champions. I 100% believe that. No. And I would have 100% believed if Bruno Lage had stayed manager, we would have won despite the crazy...
No.
Despite the crazy... I think so, man. It was worse without him. It was worse without him. It was worse without Lage. It was worse without it.
Yeah, but that's because we had no So what you pick them? Because the problem is Flavio took over the ship, and I found hilarious. We went on that absolute run of form. We couldn't beat anyone, and the one team we beat was fucking Fluminense. And but he had no backroom staff. In terms of Bruno Lage, this is where I was going to interject and say I don't think the title was lost when Castro went. Yes, I do believe he would have won the title if Castro stays. I think the title was lost when we appointed that fraud. Absolute fraud. It's either you go for him, who publicly comes out in the press conference and say, oh, my position at Botafogo is attainable after one game to Botafogo, playing the most horrid style of football. Or it's either Flavio taking over the ship with no backroom staff and no directions to go. Which one do you
backbone. Pick? Just Lucio Flavio had no backbone. He doesn't have the backbone to be a manager. Not here. Not anywhere. Maybe he could be like, a coach coming up for like a U or like an under 15, like that type of level. But at the senior level, man, here's the thing: Lucio Flavio is just too much of a nice guy. He's just a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Like I personally, I know personally know people that know him. Like one of my friends. His child, Lucio Flavio, is a godfather of his child. Lucio Flavio is a nice guy. And nice guy, they do not make good football managers. They just don't. You got to have a little bit of like an asshole attitude, an asshole mentality. Too much of a nice guy is not good. Even the best managers like Filipão, Filipão was seen as like the father type manager, but he got into players. Luxemburgo, he had this like fatherly thing, but he was hot-headed. I mean, you can name it, man. There's tons of managers out there that are like they're nice people, but when they manage, they become something else. Lucio Flavio was the same. He was a nice guy outside. He was a nice guy as a manager. He was a nice guy losing. He was a nice guy winning. That's his baseline. So there was, once Lucio Flavio got appointed, I knew for sure there was zero chance of us ever recovering any points. I knew then the season was done, turn the TV off, didn't even have to watch the rest of the games to know what's going to happen. But, if Lage wasn't such a bum, we would have won the title. If his mentality was at the club, because he arrived already wanting to take off. He never wanted to be here in the first place. He came because he got offered a job and he got offered the money. And he was only going to stay until the end of the Brasileirão. That was the deal. Bruno Lage was coming in to be Botafogo manager from when he got signed to the end of the year, and at the end of the year, he would have gone to Olympique Lyonnais. That was in the contract. But he did not want to be a Botafogo whatsoever. He had zero interest of being there. So whenever he found the first excuse to take off, which was the Flamengo game, he took off, which is absolutely absurd. If he would have just hunkered down, got, just did what he was supposed to do, we would have won that title. But he decided to be a bum instead, and decided to be a coward and abandon ship when the ship was sailing full speed ahead into a title. He just left it. And I think if Castro would have never left, that none of that would have ever happened. I think we would have just kept on going.
I hear what you're saying on Flavio, but Flavio was thrown into a scenario he did not want to be in. And probably one of the best assistant coaches you can make, having that level-headedness. But like you said, if you need to be a coach, you need to knuckle down and set your principles. He's never going to be that guy. But he got thrown into a scenario he shouldn't have been in. And then last few games and then the start.
I've heard stories from the dressing room of like players, players talk. Like he would give the halftime talks and the post-game talks, and the players would just look at him. And the players would be like, what the fuck is this guy saying? That was the level of Lucio Flavio. Like, they were just like, at first they wanted him because they knew they would have the power to, kind of make their own decisions, and Lucio Flavio would just go along with it. He was just a guy. He was just a yes man. So he had no point of being there. No hateful to Lucio Flavio, the person, the man. Right? Because again, as I said before, very nice guy. But as a manager, just forget it, man. Forget it.
Yeah, but do you not remember what Diego Costa said at the end of the season when we had him half the year? How he had a problem with, and who are we to disagree? He's probably right as well about the mentality behind the scenes, the dressing room. How they already thought they'd won the title halfway through the year, and then there was a drop off him, and there was a sort of shot to the system. And then obviously
that's exactly it. Botafogo was red hot, and then they got dunked into a nice cold bath.
Yeah, then Thiago Nunes, fucking thanks for that one, Texter. And
that was it. And Thiago Nunes was the choice of the Botafogo's football department. That was like, well, he was not Texter's choice as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've heard, what I've been told. He was more of a Brito appointment or appointee. But yeah, I don't want to talk about him either because he's also another bum.
Yeah, well, thanks for dumping us out the Libertadores last year as well. Twat. And yeah, man, I mean, do you know what? I always said about that year, that particularly the Palmeiras game, but it collapsed. That's just probably the most brutal choke I've ever seen in my lifetime. But sometimes I think to myself, do you think that collapse was the reason why the very next year we knuckled down and we won 2 trophies? Yeah, that sort of mentality. Because I always think to myself like that because I've been asked before, what the generic question of if you could turn one result around in football like you've watched, what would it be? And people go, surely that Palmeiras game though, the 4-3. And I said, do you know what? A part of me thinks if we didn't crumble so bad in that game, obviously back then the only thing we could think about is just wanting to hurt ourselves after watching that game. But obviously looking back, I think to myself that was almost the making of us under Artur Jorge that year in terms of how to clamp down on like the mentality, how to stay consistent and win a title, win a Libertadores.
Yeah, man, I think for sure, if we had won the title in 23, you can't say 24 would have never happened. It could have. But especially if Castro was settled in, especially if his head was in the club, he had the squad, man. Castro had the squad like in the palm of his hand. Those guys, they went to battle for him. They fought for him. You can tell that in the post-match videos, which there were a lot of during that year because we won a lot of games. All the players respected him. He was the leader. His like the second in command, the third in command guys, the players like really saw a hierarchy of power. They respected everyone. Castro had the team in the palm of his hand. If he would have won 23, kept that squad, asked for players to join in the 2024 season, he would have done even better. I believe. And 2024 could have been a very successful season as well. But after everything that's happened and all the ingredients, you mix that in with a manager that has something to prove, which was Artur Jorge, because Artur Jorge is a damn good manager. You just created a perfect recipe, a perfect storm of ingredients to have a smashing good season. And then you bring in the players that you brought at the half of the year, and that really was solidified the rest of the year for us. Bringing Igor Jesus, bringing Alex Telles, bringing in players that have leadership and the talent, and the rest is history, man. Like it's that 2024 Botafogo, and it's crazy to think because supporters of the club, but that team is going to go down in history as not only one of the best squads of the club, but one of the best squads of any competition in Brazil, and honestly, any competition in the world. That 2024 team was something else, man. Like that team of every player in their prime, playing in their prime, that team goes toe to toe with any. Imagine if we had the same squad, Luis Henrique, Almada, against PSG.
Well, that's exactly the game I was going to touch on. Like everyone forgets that there might have been a little bit of a fall down. There might have been a cooling period on PSG now when they lost the final. People forget, with half of that team, basically half of the same team we had at the Libertadores final, by the way, who set the blueprint for beating that PSG team that were dubbed unbeatable at the time. Let's not forget that. Absolutely, no, 100%. Right. Like it was a team that played with character. It was a team with balls, 100%.
Especially with Artur Jorge. If we had Artur Jorge too at the Club World Cup, man, honestly, I don't know. We could have gone.
Yeah, I mean,
we would have for sure not lost to Palmeiras. I'll tell you that much.
Thanks for your efforts, mate, Renato Paiva. But come on, man, like 4 shots in 110 minutes, then we accumulate like over 13 shots in the last 10 minutes because you think, oh shit, we've conceded a goal now. We need to open up now. Come on, man. No, that was. I don't think I've ever been more angry at a game. No, there's this pure anger after that game. But yeah, it is traumatic moments that can help a person, that can make a person. And I believe that traumatic moment against the Palmeiras, the collapse in 2023, with the guidance of Artur Jorge, with the no-nonsense from top to bottom, from the board to the players, was the driving force behind 2024. And the game that really solidified that for me, which is why I deemed the question, was that Internacional game. We just won the Libertadores. Was there a drop-off-in mentality? Did the players go out drinking late at night? Absolutely not. We had your little DJ party. Go back home, get your food, get your rest. International, they were flying at the time, by the way. How many? I think there were like 12 games unbeaten at home or something like just constant win-win. We went there. Savarino, go! Come on, man. Come on.
I don't know. I don't remember who said it in what interview. Someone said it, but somebody said it that there were some players on that pitch that were hungover.
We didn't play like it, I'll tell you that for sure. I was watching that game, I was like, we are fucking on it today, man. Like every one-on-one duel, every tackle, right on it. Do you think that's the reason why? Do you think that's the reason why they were so combative? 100%. On the boozer.
100%. They enjoyed their party, they enjoyed the moment, but they knew the job wasn't done. And they step onto the field knowing that the job was, and you can tell they were.
Yeah, and that's
tired.
What I mean. Do you think that was because of the collapse last year? Do you think it's like, right, we don't want to repeat of this because this is the same competition we collapsed in?
No. I think it was because those players really wanted to do the double. Like I don't think that the last year had any impact. They were all about that season. Like, I really do think that once Artur Jorge came in and took. And grabbed that ship and stopped it from going crazy, 23 was over. And it was just those players had a winning mentality. And when you have players with the winning mentality, they don't want to lose any game, hungover or not. They're going to go over there and they're going to win. And that's exactly what happened in Internacional. That's a good point, because once they won that Internacional game, I knew then we're gonna go for the whole thing. We were gonna win both. I had no doubt in my mind.
Well, last 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so, reminiscing on the good times. Hopefully more of that to come this season with Martin Anselmi. And it starts off with Grêmio in a few days' time, then at the weekend. Vasco, final game of the regular phase of the Carioca Championship. Hopefully we can make amends in that game. Hopefully we have some positive news and some players come through. I'm not holding my fucking breath, but, we'll give it a go. And hopefully by this time next week, we're still top of the table. We'll see what happens, but thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Like I said, if you've listened thus far so far, you are a legend. And we should be back next week. So I believe it should be... obviously, the Brasileirão calendar is going to fluctuate, but it's normally going to be, just so we've got enough to talk about, one Brasileirão game, one Rio State game, one Libertadores group game, one Copa do Brasil game, what it may be. So we just have a bit of a bit to work with, and there should be some more clips being uploaded from the last podcast. Like I said, thank you very much for the interaction on that. It's phenomenal.
And before we go, I just want to say thanks to Gabiru for sharing the first episode of the podcast. Yeah, Gabiru is a former narrator of Botafogo TV. He's at Arena Alvinegra now with Thiago Franklin and Pedro Depp, and then also thanks to I want to say thanks to Ricardo Azambuja and Vitor from Fala Fogão. I went into their live stream and I sent a message, just saying good night, good evening, how you guys doing, stuff like that. And I've been on their show before, and Azambuja made sure to mention of our podcast and told people to go follow the page and listen to the podcast. So I just want to give a shout to those two guys that we're spreading the word.
That's awesome, man. We love every bit of it. Thank you very much for listening to the GB podcast. I've been your host, Woods, along with main host of the channel, Pedro of Glorious and Botafogo. We'll see you next week. Vamos Botafogo.
Later.